If you're autistic, but you're being judged off of neurotypical standards, there's a good chance that you could be frustrated, misunderstood, and likely depressed. So let's talk about what high functioning autism looks like. And keep in mind that the proper term for this is actually called level 1 autism, and we used to call this Asperger's back in the day. So number 1, you struggle with depression for a long time, for as long as you can remember, going back to when you were in 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, and anything that you did to try and take away the depression, it didn't work. You took medications, you didn't feel better. You tried to exercise, it didn't feel better. You tried what the doctor told you to do, but you didn't get better. One of the reasons why autistic individuals, especially those who are undiagnosed, could be depressed is because you don't have the proper support. Having autism means that the way that you communicate with the world is different from how a neurotypical person would communicate with the world. So because of this, you'll need some type of external support. If you're level 1, theoretically, you don't need as much support as somebody who's level 2 or level 3, an individual who's not able to speak. Yeah, they need more support theoretically, but you still need some external support, but you don't know that you have autism. So you're navigating through this world, this neurotypical society, without the proper support. You're not able to articulate yourself. Sometimes you don't know how you feel. And even if you know how you feel, articulating how you feel is a whole nother thing. And on top of that, when you don't have a fundamental understanding of yourself, it's hard to put yourself in a position to where you can win. And this is why I always stress getting a diagnosis, because the proper diagnosis, even without the right support and without medications, it makes you feel so much better because now you have a term that better explains the majority of the symptoms that you exhibit. So instead of you saying, I'm lazy, I'm awkward, nobody likes me, you can say, oh, I have autism. And I communicate with the world a little differently than how other people communicate with the world. And that's neither good or bad. I'm different. And that's something to be celebrated. Number 2, you have these long periods of self-isolation. So you do this thing where it's hard to get a hold of you for a couple of days or a couple of weeks. People can't text you, they can't call you, or they'll try to do that. But you'll have missed calls, missed texts. What you're doing is you're recharging your battery. Because as an undiagnosed autistic person, you're going out into the world and you're masking. This is how you make friends. This is how you get invites to social gatherings. This is how you get people to date. You suppress yourself and you put the mask on to go out into the world. And when we do this, sometimes it actually works. Sometimes we actually make friends. Sometimes we actually have romantic partners. Sometimes we actually tell jokes at work and people laugh. And this is a good feeling, to be understood, to be celebrated, to be a part of a group of people. However, it's not natural to you. So this is going to come at the cost of your energy. You're going to have to burn twice as much energy because you're masking. And at some point, you're going to run out of energy. But you'll take care of that issue when you get there. So you'll be out and you'll be having fun. But you know that in the back of your head, at some point, you're going to have to recharge. And I do believe that autistic individuals do need alone time. You need time to just relax, time to be by yourself, and not deal with sensory overload and all the frustrations that come with living in a neurotypical society. Sign number 3, you struggle with communication. This means that you can take things literally, or you could struggle to understand sarcasm. So if we hear the phrase, it's raining cats and dogs, we know that cats and dogs are not falling from the sky. Well, the majority of us know that. However, if you take things literally, you can expect to go outside and be frustrated that there are no cats and dogs that are coming from the sky. And you may ask yourself, how come there's no animals falling from the sky? And if you're a neurotypical person, you see this and you're like, everybody's supposed to know that. But the English language is actually fairly complicated. There are a lot of idioms and double meanings. And if you're not from this country, if you're not from America, or if you're not from an English-speaking country, you know how frustrating English is. Words are hard sometimes to understand, to get them out of your mouth, to know what people are saying. So if you take things literally, you could be misunderstood and you might not understand what people are saying. Likewise, if you don't understand sarcasm, it's easy to see how you can get into arguments and fights with your friends, with your partners, with your spouse, with your coworkers. Somebody may say something and you can take offense to it, but they were just joking. They were being sarcastic. And when you don't know what people are saying or talking about, it's easy to see how you can be extremely frustrated. Anytime we're irritable, we're anxious, we're frustrated, and we're high up here, our communication skills are low. And as our ability to communicate improves, and we have the words to convey how we feel, our irritability and our anxiety and our aggression tends to come down. There's that inverse relationship. So those are just a couple of things that you can experience if you have level 1 autism or high functioning autism, or what we used to call Asperger's.